Alright, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And today I just want to go into this article that I came across, and it's from CNN, and it says, Bronze Age comb reveals an ancient frustration with head lice. So I'm just going to go into this article a little bit, bring out a couple scriptures. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying, straight to the point. And it says, a 7-word inscription discovered by ancient Slakia. A 7-word inscription discovered by accident on a 3,700-year-old lice comb is the oldest known sentence written in an alphabet according to new study. The inscription written on the ivory comb is in Canaanite, the earliest alphabet and the source of Latin, one used today to write English and many other European languages. The words are a humble plea, perhaps shared by parents of young children today. May this tusk root out the lice of the hair and the beard. And yes, they pretty much said, the language is written in, the language of Canaan. And, the Canaanites, they spoke Hebrew, So that's pretty much what the text written on the comb is in, it's in the ancient Hebrew. And from what they pretty much determined, this is what it says: may this tusk root out the head. It's like it made this tusk root out the lice of the hair and the beard, because again, that's one of the plagues, that the Lord sent on the ancient Egyptians, the Plague of Lice. And it says, small clusters of Canaanite letters have been identified on fragments of pottery and arrowheads, but this is the first time scholars have found a complete sentence written in what Yosef Garfinkel, a so-called Ish person, a professor of archaeology at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, said was the first alphabet-based language, making it a landmark discovery in the history of the human ability to write. Nothing like this was found before. It's not the royal inscription of a king. This is something very human. You're immediately connected to this person who had this comb, said Garfinkel, a co-author of the study that published in the Jerusalem Journal of Archaeology. The very earliest writing system originated around 5,000 years ago and was used by ancient Sumerians of Mesopotamia and was now Iraq. Like Egyptian hieroglyphics, the system known as cuneiform in its later stages relied on hundreds of pictographs to represent words, ideas, and sounds. Garfinkel said that the Canaanites were the first to use letters that represented sounds in their writing system, which subsequently evolved into Phoenician, Greek, and ultimately the Latin alphabet that's most commonly used today. The Canaanites invented the alphabet. Nowadays, every person in the world can read and write using the alphabet system. This is really one of the most important intellectual achievement of humankind. He said, when you are writing, you're usually you're really using Canaanite. So again, like I said, the text that's written on this comb, is pretty much the Hebrew, because again, that's the language that, the Canaanites spoke, Hebrew, and that's the language that the Israelites spoke, the ancient Paleo Hebrew. So that's what, the letters are, that are written on this comb. And this is what it looks like, We'll zoom in a little bit. That's Hebrew writing. So I'm just going to bring out a couple of scriptures again. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 8, and verse 16. And it said, the Lord said unto Moses, say unto Aaron, stretch out thy rod and smite the dust of the land, that it may become lice throughout the land. It's like it throughout all the land of Egypt. And they did so, and Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod and smote the dust of the earth, and it became lice in man and in beasts, and all the dust became lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth lice, but they could not. So there were lice upon man. So there were lice upon man and upon beasts, And that's one of the many, plagues that the Lord brought upon ancient Egypt, because, Pharaoh didn't want to let, the Israelites go. And the Lord pretty much warned, Pharaoh through Moses that, if he didn't let his people go, that, he would send plagues upon the land of Egypt. And that's what he did. And the same thing is going to take place today, in America, aka Babylon the Great. The Lord, is going to send, plagues and pestilences upon this land, because Esau, Edom refuses to let his people go, who are the Lord's people, the Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And then I'm going to go to the book of Psalms, chapter 105. I'm going to start at verse 27, just to go into some of the plagues. And it says, they showed his signs among them, and wonders in the land of Ham. He sent darkness and made it dark, and they rebelled not against his word. They turned, he turned their waters into blood, and slew their fish. Their land brought forth frogs in abundance, and in the chambers of their kings he spake, and there came diverse sorts of flies and lice in all their coasts, He gave them hail for rain and flaming fire in their land. He smote their vines also and their fig trees, and brake the trees of their coasts. He spake, and the locusts came, and the caterpillars, and that without number, and did eat up all the herbs of their land, and devoured the fruit of the ground thereof. He smote also the firstborn in their land, the chief of all their strength. He brought forth also with silver and gold, and there was not one feeble person among their tribes. Egypt was glad when they departed, for the fear of them fell upon them. And yes, again, pretty much the point I wanted to make was in verse 31, about the lice, but still to go into the plagues that the Lord sent upon the land of Egypt. He sent frogs, hail, fire, lice, locusts and caterpillars, and ultimately smiting the firstborn son, or their firstborn, but ultimately, yes, their firstborn sons, because your son pretty much carries on, your lineage, your bloodline after you, you know. But pretty much, that was the point I wanted to make. And to also, reiterate that, Lord is pretty much going to smite Egypt with plagues again. Modern day Egypt being America, which is spiritually Sodom in Egypt, We know why it's spiritually called Sodom because of, the LG, the alphabet community in Egypt because, of the hardcore bondage that we had to suffer in this land, which pretty much, we had to suffer. That's what Egypt means, house of bondage. So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. I like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till the next time I say shalom.